that I have reached to university's broadband connection. Uh, but that is also facing some issues. So, whatever possibility we have to do this, let us do it. Then the rest of the things, I mean, are not actually in our control. So, let us try to do this now. Can you hear me now? Is it okay? Anyone of the students, can you hear me? I can see 11 people, 15 people are currently online and they are watching it. So, anyone who is out there, if they can let me know if my voice is audible to them. So, students, let's try to give it a try. I'm assuming that some of you are able to hear it because maybe there is some issue in chat. So, I'm continuing. And let us see to what extent the internet will help us. Uh, because I can see that there are 18 concurrent viewers still online. So, I'm assuming that these are the students who are still waiting for it. So, I'm continuing it. So now we were looking at this Excel sheet, and I was telling you that this Excel sheet that you're downloading needs to be uploaded onto SPSS. So for that, we were discussing that we need to have these numbers to be converted into uh, these text need to be converted into 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now you have to be little careful when you are trying to do this, and that is because that if you will type, so I am going into advanced search and advanced search here. So if you will type here only applicable, uh, and then if you will try to replace it, so what I'm trying to do is, you look at this, I'm clicking onto the find next, if you can see this. So when I'm finding next, it is able to find applicable only when I have checked onto this find entries cell or entire cell only. So you need to check this thing up, otherwise what will it do if I uncheck it? It might end up in finding applicable here also. You see now this is, it is highlighting this cell, it is highlighting this cell of the Excel. So what will it do if you will replace, if you will exercise the replace command from here? So if you will type 1, what will it do is it will type somewhat 1, because it will replace the applicable out of somewhat applicable. So this is how it will do. So you see it has become somewhat 1. So this is what you have to be little careful about, and you need to look at it in your data also. So for example, your data is strongly disagree, disagree, neutral, agree, strongly agree. So when you are replacing agree, you need to be careful. When you're replacing disagree, you need to be careful, because if there is this thing strongly disagree, then we might have an issue in understanding this, and it would make it strongly 1 or strongly 2 if you are only replacing agree and disagree onto that. So you just have to be a little careful in this. So what I will do now is I will select this fill entire cells only, and this applicable I want to replace all applicables in this sheet, and it has made 707 replacements, right? So this is what we can actually do to it. So just to very quickly uh, rerun through it, and to just let you know what I have just discussed is this. So I was just telling you that you actually need to look at this sheet, and when you are replacing, when you are going into the advanced search, when you are clicking onto this advanced search, a window will come up. In this window, if you will type applicable only and would not click onto this find entire cells only, what will it do is, I'm clicking onto the find next. So what it is doing is it is finding applicable in the cell which is least applicable also. So what actually the problem it will give you is it will make it least 1, because it would replace applicable. If you are replacing it with 1, so it will make it least 1. So if I can do this to you, replace, it is making least 1. So this is an issue. So what you do to get rid of this problem is you check onto this cell which is find entire cells only, right? So there you would actually are asking the Excel to only look at applicable in the cell. If there is anything else other than applicable in the cell, it will not replace it. So now this is what I am doing it. So replace all, it has not found it because I've already done it. You can see 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. So likewise, what I can do is I can type LEAST and space, and I can click onto the find entire cells only and replace, and it would do 4, 3, 4 replacements, whatever number of replacements are there. So I have checked OK onto this, right? So similarly, then I have much applicable also. So what I will do is I will type MUCH much applicable, and I replace all. So it has made 470 replacements. So whatever number is there, it will do this. Then likewise, somewhat applicable, I can replace all, and it would have 367 replacements. And then I have the quite a bit applicable also, QUITE, quite a bit applicable also, and I replace it with whatever. So now I'm not changed 1, just to show you that it can be done like this. So you replace it, right? So this is how you can do this. This is the first thing that I want to tell you, that you need to convert this thing into your into the coding. This coding you need to have, right? So this is something that we need to actually look at. So let me see if it is still working. Yes, it seems to be working now. Okay. So this when you have converted this, then let me change this also. So if I can open up another Excel sheet, if I can open up this thing, which is this Excel sheet, it has the similar data into it. So the Excel sheet would come up, and what I will try to do is I will try to replace I will try to replace this with uh, I will try to replace this with these things. So this is suppose the sheet that you have, right? So now quickly advanced search, replace, quite a bit applicable, find entire cells only. You start with LEAST, least applicable, replace it with 1, do the things for 35. Then hypothetically I am doing quite a bit applicable, replace it with 2. 3, 1, 2 replacements. Then somewhat applicable, replace it with 3, replace all. Then you have only applicable and replace it with 4 and replace all. And then little bit applicable, little bit applicable, replace it with 5. Hypothetically I am doing it, so I am not following any logic because I am trying to save some time onto this. Then we have HIGHLY, highly applicable, and I am doing this 6, replace all. Okay, and then you have much applicable, the last thing, which is much applicable. This is 7, and this is replace all. So okay, so now I have this data ready with me. You see this thing. So the second thing that you need to do is, which is the very easy thing to do, you get this number that you have with you, and this number would actually be selected, and you copy this number, right? And then you go to your SPSS. I'm clicking onto SPSS. You minimize it. You go to your new file. So open a new file, which is a data file. And when you will open a data file, it would come to you and it would replace a very simple thing. You will have two things, data view and variable view here. So you need not to go to variable view because you still need to define it. You go to data view, and in data view you click anywhere onto the cell, first row, first column, and you paste the things. Whatever you have copied from the Excel, you paste it here. When you will paste it here, then you will see that the data that you have copied has actually come here, right? So this is how this thing would look like. So what I have told you by now is simply you take the Excel sheet, code it, and after coding it, you kind of paste it into your Excel. Alternatively, what you can do is you can also import the file in SPSS. So what you can do there is file, open, data. But in because I'm using Mac, it is having some issues. It is not picking the things up. It is not showing anything. But if you will run into your Windows things, I think it should come out. It would have displayed whatever Excel files would have been here, and then you would have kind of opened it. But then it has some issues in the sense it is a little more technical in nature, because it needs to be told that what would be the names of the variables and all. So it would have some commands running into it, and meaning thereby that the comma or a space would actually tell you that a new variable has come and all that. So you need not to do that. It is just kind of an FYI. So this is how you can kind of do it. And then thereafter you can go to the variable view. So you can see now there are some variables which has come here, right? There are some variables which have come here. So these variables, I was trying to zoom it up, so if you are facing any issues. uh, Okay, so this is how now the next thing that you need to do is you need to give the names to the variables, because you have not given the name of the variable. So hypothetically what I am doing is I am giving it a name which is 1. Here I am giving it a name which is 2. So you select it and you give a name to it, right? And then you give a name which is kind of 3. So this is how you will kind of start it, right? So the only thing that you need to keep in mind is that when you are naming it, there should not be a space. It doesn't allow any space here, at least in name. And then the type, you already know that in type you have these options: numeric, comma, dot, scientific notations. So you always be selecting numeric here. Only in the case of a nominal variable where you have a name, in that case you will select string, because a name of a respondent might be say Kailash, and the Kailash is not a number. And when Kailash is not a number, so that means that you actually kind of going to have a string to it. So that way you will actually be doing it. So you give a name to it, select type to it, which is numeric. And then the next thing which you can actually look at it is uh, width. So width is actually the number of characters that you will allow this to happen. So this is also of no use to you, because when you have a string variable, then you need to have the width. So width would talk of the number of characters that you would allow a variable name to have. So 8 is by default in SPSS, so I think 8 would do good. Decimals for numeric, you keep it at 2, that is okay to you. Label is the full question, you can write full question. So suppose this is the first question, I can go back to my Excel sheet and I can look at what was my first question. My first question is, I like my laptop brand because of mass prestige associated with it. So I can copy this, I can get back to my SPSS and I can paste it. So you can also kind of broad it. So this will tell you that this is your label. Actually this label is for to kind of make sense of it, because that question number 1 is this, question number 1 is this. So this is how you know. And then you have the values. Values are the codings. When you will click onto the values, you will have the codings being entered here. So the coding, as I was telling you, suppose if you have given 1 to strongly disagree, then you type all those things. So strongly disagree. Okay, so if you have 2, you say disagree. And if you have 3, you say neutral. If you have 4, you say agree. And if you have 5, you say strongly agree. This is how you can kind of do it, because we have 7 here. So because we have 6 also here, so least applicable, whatever applicable, more applicable. So anything that you have here, you can actually make it as a label, very much applicable. So hypothetically I am writing it, right? So you can click OK to it. So there you have done this. Now missing, you don't have any missing values, that is what we will assume. So you need not to write anything into it. Columns width, do not consume this column width with width which is written here. So the column section speaks about, now this is a column, let me take you to the data view. In data view you will see you see this variable. It is so broad, it is starting from here, it is ending here. You can manually do this. So I can stretch it, I can make it that large, I can re-squeeze it, I can make it little short. That is what I can do manually to each of those things, right? Now you can alternatively go to your variable view, and you can write here, instead of 8 you can write 20. I want larger width of my columns, and you say enter to it. So the first question number 1, go to your data view. Now it would be larger than the other things, and these are 8, this is 20. So if you will make it 30, it will show you the 30 thing also. So 30 data view, it has become more wider. So this is the only thing that you will talk of into this column section. So you need not to be worried about this also. Very important thing is this, which is scale. And this scale is either nominal, either ordinal, or either scale. So you know that there are 4 type of scales: or ordinal, nominal, interval, and ratio. So the interval and ratio are depicted in SPSS with the name of scale. So what you will do, other than the demographic questions, wherever you have assigned any code, you should select scale. That saves your life. So I am selecting scale for every of my questions, right? So this is what you can kind of do, right? So I have selected the scale in each of the question. So this is what you need to do in order to prepare your data for uh, entry purpose. So what you will do is, very quickly, I have had this Excel file. I have first converted this Excel file into my coding, and then these codes were actually copied and pasted into the SPSS data view, and thereafter I have gone to the variable view, and in variable view I have given the name and given the label to the question, which is the full question. I have left the width at the default, which is 8, decimals at the default, which is 2. Values I have entered, missing values I need not to enter. Column width is how large and broad you want your columns to be, and then the measure has to be scale, and this was input thing, so that is why it is input, the role is input. So now this is what this is how you will actually make sense of your data entry thing, right? Okay, so now having said this, next thing depends upon what are your questions. So if you would look at your data view, because I have given the values to the first question, you see these are the values which are there. Because I have given values to the first question, you can see in data view that these values are available. So strongly disagree, very applicable, strongly disagree, whatever the values that I have given to it. So similarly to the second question, third question, I have not given names to the variables, which are variable number 4, variable number 5, so that is why they are showing like this only. Now next thing is, you need to look at what are your objectives. To put this in perspective, in context of your project work, let me tell you that in context of your project work, let me tell you that you can at the max run descriptives, factor analysis, t-test, ANOVA, and regression. These are the tools which you can use if you are optimistic about this. But the first thing first, what should you do the first thing as? Now, for example, a student might have a project which is understanding the factors affecting the toothpaste uh, in South Haryana region, or in India, or in Haryana, wherever. So which means what you are trying to do is you are trying to identify the factors. So for those factors, you have a questionnaire prepared. Your questionnaire would be like, you will have questions which are trying to measure the factors where the people respondents are replying to it. So first thing that you will do is, because many of you are not picking up the standard scales, when many of you are not picking up the standard scales, so you need to justify the selection of your questions methodologically. What does that mean is, you need to actually check the reliability of your scale. So that very quickly can be checked into SPSS. To do that, so what is reliability? Reliability is uh, that all the questions that you have taken into a questionnaire are measuring one thing. So suppose if you are having 3 constructs, because the students who are talking to me, I have asked them to introduce some questions into their questionnaire about satisfaction, in addition to the questions that they were having about their own constructs. Now, for example, in case of Shilpa, she is doing the work onto the brand personality, and in addition to brand personality, yesterday only I have asked her to introduce some questions regarding the satisfaction. So which means now, if she has added 2 questions of satisfaction, and if she has 40 questions on brand personality or 20 questions on brand personality, so that would mean she has now 2 scales. And when you are checking reliability, very important thing, so I can tell you, when you are actually getting into the reliability testing, you have to be very much conscious about how you are checking the reliability. So what I am trying to tell you is that the reliability is important. So it is to what extent all the questions are measuring same thing, right? Now reliability is always construct wise. So if you have 2 constructs, so for example, say one is brand personality and the other is satisfaction, so you will have two reliabilities tests to be done. So two tests needs to be done. What students usually do is they have their this questionnaire, and in that they have 30 questions, but in these 30 questions 20 questions are of say any other construct. So for example, brand personality here, and 10 questions maybe say if you are checking brand preference, if you are checking advertising effectiveness, if you are checking satisfaction. So what they would do is for all 30 questions to run reliability is a wrong thing. You run reliability only uh, construct wise. So and now I'm taking you back to my this SPSS thing. So what I'm assuming is going into the variable view. So suppose this is my construct number one, right? So one, this is for question number two of construct one, question number three of construct one, and this is question number four. This is question number one of construct two. Suppose construct two. This is suppose question number 2 of construct 2. This is suppose question number 3 of construct 2. So now I have two constructs. Now suppose the first construct is brand personality, second construct is satisfaction. When you are running a reliability, you need to run reliability for these two uh, constructs separately. So what do you do to run reliability? You go to analyze and you go to scale, right? And in scale you check onto the reliability analysis, very simple. And checking onto reliability analysis would give you this. And then what do? You can see what is happening now. You look at in the background of the slide, because I have defined label to this question, this label is visible here, so you can see what is this question. And in the parenthesis in the end it is telling you one, question number one of construct one. So when you are trying to check reliability, you select only those questions which are measuring one construct. So for my one construct I have three questions, so I am taking the three questions in, and then I am clicking onto set statistics, and then I am checking onto the scale, right? And I am saying continue, right? So very quickly let me do this again to you so that you don't get in trouble. So I am going on to analyze, I am going on to scale, and in scale I am checking on to reliability analysis, and in reliability analysis I am selecting three questions which are measuring one construct. I am getting those questions in. I am then checking on to statistics, then I am checking on to scale, and then I am saying continue. And doing that, I have run all the commands which are necessary in SPSS to run to check the reliability of this construct, and now I am saying OK. So giving running this command would give me the reliability. So when you will come into your SPSS output sheet, you will see that I have 289 responses, and all the responses are valid, and number of questions that I have for this construct is 3, and its cronback alpha is 0.560, right? So this is the reliability thing. For your question, for your questionnaire, this reliability should be at least zero point 0.6. It should be at least 0.6. So the students who are doing factors affecting toothpaste purchase or toothpaste preference or whatever, they have some questions which are measuring the factors. So all those questions, if they are all measuring the factors only, so they all should be treated as one construct, the questions of one construct, and they all should be taken into this window of SPSS, wherein they are checking the reliability, and then you run it, and then this value, this thing should be 0.6 at least. So you have to report this necessarily when you are analyzing your questions, when you are analyzing your responses, right? So this is the first thing that you will need to report into your data. So 0.50, so yours can be 0.6, yours can be 0.7. Larger it is, maximum value of reliability can be 1. So if it is less than 0.6, you are into some trouble. So then having said that, what we have done now is I'm taking you into the worksheet. Now till now we have, first step is to download the Excel sheet. Second step is to code the Excel sheet before, important, before taking it in SPSS, right? Third thing is copy copy the Excel sheet data and paste it in SPSS, and then go to variable view in SPSS, then define the variables. So, where we have talked about this name, we have talked about this width, we have talked about decimal, we have talked about label, we have talked about all those things. We are defining, and then check reliability. So these are the steps that we have done by now. Download the Excel sheet, code, copy, take it into SPSS, paste it, define the variables, and check reliability. Now, when you have done till this point, you have come to a point wherein you have actually transcribed your data into SPSS. You have done the necessary tests. Again, let me tell you, the reliability will be as per the number of constructs, right? Uh, so if you have three reliabilities for three constructs, right? So this you need to keep it in mind, right? So the spelling is wrong, but you can always kind of correct it. So this is what important is to look at. Then what you need to do, look at your objectives. Look at your objectives. So now suppose if your objective is to find out the factors, you should run factor analysis. Factor analysis, right? Uh, then many of you also have a objective which says to check the impact of, to check the influence of factors onto the satisfaction, or to check the influence of factors onto the preference, to check the influence of these factors onto something else. So in such cases, you first would do factors. Factors would give you the factors, uh, and then when you are checking impact, to check impact, what you can do is you can run regression analysis, right? And then to after running regression analysis, you can run t-test and ANOVA, right? This is what your methodological blueprint can look like, right? Now how to run this, uh, how to run this uh, and how to run this is a question, and how to run this is a question, right? So this is how. Now because these are highly kind of technical tools which you can kind of talk about, for that I have full videos onto my YouTube channel. You can go and watch what is factor analysis. It would give you a very fair idea of how factor analysis can be done. And then you can kind of look at your factors that you have arrived at, and thereafter you have kind of be looking at the video of t-test and video of ANOVA. So this is something that we can look at when we are trying to uh, execute the project. I know we have been very fast when we are doing this, and there are reasons for it also, because of this issue. Otherwise we would have covered a lot of it. But this is how you can start, and this is how you can do. So the t-test and ANOVA are not very much difficult tests to do. If I can very quickly tell you one more thing, let me see if it is uh, making sense. So if I can tell you very quickly what else you can kind of do, uh, you should run ANOVA and T only for significant factors, and you get the significant factors from regression analysis, right? This is how you can kind of do this. So need not to run this for all the factors. You only should run it for those which are significant factors. So this is a quick look at all this. So in SPSS, very quickly analyze and classify, and in classify you have the cluster analysis, and dimension reduction is factor, so you can come to the factor, and then you can bring these factors in and then you can run it. So this is where you find factor. And to find t-test and ANOVA, you can go to compare means, and you can go to one sample t-test, you can go to paired sample one way ANOVA, and you can sample t-test. And then to run regression analysis, obviously we have regression separately given, and you will run the linear regression. So select regression and then linear regression, and this is how this window will come up and you will do it. So I think that this is how we can understand it, and this is how we can kind of look at it, and I hope that this make a little sense. I know that it was a quick uh, thing, but what I can tell you is, you can let me know what you can write. Are you able to see my chat? This is something that I don't know. I don't know whether you're getting my chat or not. So because usually what I do is I do take questions, but since the chat is doing some problems, so uh, uh, any specific questions, you can let me know. So you can write me onto. So Abhishek is asking, variable names contain illegal character pop out displayed when I was putting a variable name. So Abhishek, what you should do is, you should only put in text which is alphabet, and the numbers. You should not put in any special character, and you should not enter any space also. So this is what I have told you, that there should be no space, right? If you have some space into it, you will be into trouble, right? So Abhishek, I hope that helps. Any other thing onto it? If there is any other, because we have serious internet issues. So what I am doing now is, I am standing in the parking area of our academic block, and from there I am relaying it, because there were some serious issues of internet into our homes and all. So that is what creating the problem. Okay, so you can drop a mail to us. Maybe we will be able to uh, take the questions, and then we can do some specific thing, but obviously keeping in mind where we have better connectivity available, right? So write to my mail if you have any other questions, and we can then take it forward, right? Okay, yeah, thank you, Abhishek. You have got it. AP sir is also there, so thank you, AP sir. Uh, so I think that this will give you a very first fair hand idea of what you need to do, right? Any specific questions, you please write a mail to me, and then we can take it forward, right? So thank you very much. You have been wonderful audience. And, maybe